That bill expanded Minnesota Care to provide free health care to illegal aliens. You signed the Higher Education Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill allows illegals to have their college tuition.
Welcome back to React America, the channel where we cut to the noise, uncover the facts, and stand firm for faith, family, and freedom. If you believe in secure borders, law and order, and putting Americans first, then you're in the right place. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support fuels this movement. Let's get into it.
Majority Whip, Mr. Emmer from Minnesota.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome back to Washington, Governor. I'm going to run through a series of facts before I get to my questions, so let's get started. Governor Walz, you signed the Health and Human Services Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill expanded Minnesota Care to provide free health care to illegal aliens. You signed the Higher Education Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill allows illegals to have their college tuition paid for by the state. You signed the Driver's License for All Act into law in March of 2023, and that bill allows illegals to receive driver's licenses. So,
let's start with the cold, hard truth. In 2023, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz signed bills that give free health care, free college, and driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. That's right. While hardworking Americans are struggling with rising premiums, student debt, and DMV bureaucracy, illegal aliens are handed benefits on the taxpayer's dime. This isn't just bad policy, it's injustice. The American dream is being handed to those who broke the law to get here, while law-abiding citizens foot the bill.
you claim you're not a sanctuary state. You just provide free health care, free college, and driver's licenses to illegal aliens. One reason you're here testifying before us today is because you refuse to cooperate with ICE. While states like Florida and Virginia empower their law enforcement to detain and remove criminal illegal aliens, you, sir, have done just the opposite. Your Attorney General is directing law enforcement to ignore ICE immigration detainers. Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
While states like Florida and Virginia empower law enforcement to cooperate with IC and deport criminals, Minnesota, under Walz, does the exact opposite. His administration refuses to honor IC detainers. That means if you're a criminal alien behind bars, Minnesota just lets you walk. It's not just reckless, it's dangerous. It's telling IC, we don't want your help, we'll take our chances. That's not leadership, that's lunacy.
Well, Congressman, it's good to see you again, and thank you for being here. First, I would say as my job as governor of Minnesota is to make Minnesota the best state in the nation.
Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Congressman, what I would say on this is that Minnesota follows all law. I would say
it's a very easy question. And again, if you claim you're not a sanctuary state, you just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary state, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing their job.
Congressman,
isn't that right?
That is incorrect, Congressman. We follow the same laws when you were in the Minnesota House. The law has not changed.
If you'll allow me, I've got limited time. Well, that's what you tweeted, by the way, sir. And on May 23rd, 2018, you tweeted, quote, "I support policies that keep law enforcement from enforcing federal laws," close quote.
Governor Walz insists Minnesota isn't a sanctuary state. But let's break that down. When you give free health care, free education, and driver's licenses to people here illegally, when you ignore IC and refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, you are a sanctuary state, no matter what you call it. That's the reality Minnesota families are living with.
On May 17th, just this spring, at the University of Minnesota Law School's commencement ceremony, you said, quote, "Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets." When you said the words modern-day Gestapo, you were referring to ICE agents. Gestapo, by the way, sir, was the official secret police of Hitler's Nazi Germany. So you're calling ICE agents modern-day Nazis. Given the attacks on ICE agents that took place in Los Angeles over the weekend, don't you regard your dangerous inflammatory rhetoric as a problem?
In 2018, Walz tweeted that he supports policies to block local law enforcement from enforcing federal laws. In 2023, at a University of Minnesota Law School speech, he compared icy agents to Hitler's Gestapo. Let that sink in. Brave men and women who risk their lives every day to enforce immigration law. Being called Nazis by a sitting governor. This isn't rhetoric. This is dangerous. It demonizes our agents and puts targets on their backs.
The questions, do you want me to answer first?
So, sir, it saddens me that you refuse to express regret from comparing ICE to Nazis. ICE agents are brave Americans who get up every morning, leave their families, and put their lives in harm's way to protect our country, sir. You, at the very least, owe an apology to these dedicated public servants. I will say, sir, inflammatory rhetoric such as yours and the other governors on this panel is responsible for putting a target on the back of every ICE agent who is risking their life to protect our communities. Minnesota is all too familiar, by the way, with the chaos that ensues when you refuse to work with law enforcement to enforce the law. In May 2020, looting, acts of violence, and arson occurred on your watch in Minneapolis after you refused to bring in the National Guard.
Remember May 2020? Minneapolis was on fire. Businesses looted. Streets overrun. Chaos. And what did Governor Walz do? He waited days before deploying the National Guard. Why? Because he didn't want to appear too harsh. Instead, he allowed mob rule to take over a major American city. That's not compassion, that's cowardice. And the people of Minnesota paid the price.
Governor, your agenda is clear. Free health care, free college and driver's licenses for illegals while handcuffing law enforcement when they're trying to protect our citizens and their communities. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. By turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegals, you have opened up our communities to dangerous criminals, including known terrorists, gang members, murderers, and child predators. You have sent a resounding message that if you're a hard-working, law-abiding citizen of Minnesota, your safety and well-being are not the priorities of Tim Walz and his administration. But if you're coming to our state illegally, you're not only welcome with open arms, you're entitled to free stuff on the taxpayer's dime. This is absolutely disgraceful.
Governor Walz's policies send one message loud and clear. If you're here illegally, you're welcome. If you're a law-abiding taxpayer, get in line. Families trying to make ends meet are told to tighten their belts, while illegals are given free college and free health care. That's not just unfair. That's un-American.
Governor Walz, your sanctuary state agenda has been defined by your utter failure. You have failed to enforce the rule of law. You have failed to uphold our national sovereignty. And most importantly, you have failed the people of Minnesota.
Tom Emmer said it best. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. Walz has failed to enforce the law, failed to protect his people, failed to put Americans first. And that failure has a cost, in security, in safety, and in the soul of the state. In 2024, the people made their voices heard. They elected Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, two leaders who stand for border security, national sovereignty, and American values. That wasn't just a political win. It was a repudiation of radical sanctuary state policies like those in Minnesota. The era of open borders and free rides is over. Accountability is back.
The time for radical sanctuary state policy, sir, is over. The voters made that clear last November when they elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. You remember him, don't you? Governor, the time for real leaders and real leadership is now. And with that, sir, actually, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record the governor's tweet that I referenced from May 23rd, 2018, which makes it clear his hatred for federal law enforcement. Thank you.
Without objection, so ordered.
The battle isn't just in Washington. It's in our towns, our schools, our neighborhoods. And if we stay silent, we surrender. But not here, not on React America. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, because the truth must be louder than lies. Until next time, stay strong, stay free, and God bless the United States of America.